Okay, good evening, everyone. And I think we have everyone on the call. Hi, Poonam. Okay, so let's begin our new topic. Okay, that's where we stopped. Okay, last time. Okay, so today we'll talk about the user stories. And I think I'm hearing some echo. Okay, thank you. Okay, so in one of the session I told you, right, there are three different ways you can capture the requirements. Which is the first way or the first method we learned? We studied like up until now we have covered two different ways of capturing the requirements.
Yeah,
The,
Mr.
the first,
stakeholder requirement, right?
yeah, the first method we covered was the FRDs, right? The functional requirements, the system shell statements. You recollect like the system shall do this, the system shall allow the user to do something.
Yes, yes.
That's the
Functional,
first,
non-functional.
yes, functional, non-functional, and basically in a statement style. There was nothing where we were basically writing as a use case format. We were just writing down the statements. The system shall do this. One second. Okay, Deepthi is trying to join. She's unable to hear me, so let's give her a minute. You guys are able to hear me, right?
Yes, Chetan.
Yes, Chetan.
Yes. Yeah, Chetan. Chetan, I also just joined. So, is this your very first slide? And good evening, yeah.
Yeah. What was that, Poonam?
Chetan, I just joined. So, I
Oh,
was just asking if this is your very first slide or you have said
no,
something before this?
no, that's the first slide.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Sure. So we'll just give a minute. She's joining Deepthi. She was there, but I couldn't see a mic, like a microphone. So probably she has to dial in again. So just give her a minute.
Chetan,
Yes, Darshan.
I yeah, I seen that sprint video one more time.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Uh, in means what I found over there is means if we have a requirement and
Yes.
if there will be somebody is adding more requirement on that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to bifurcate, means we have to decide which one is the topmost priority and which one is the lowest priority, right?
Yes, that will be done by the product owner, not the BA will not decide that. It is based on the
Okay.
Hi, Chetan.
hi, hi Dipti. So yeah, based on the product owner's priorities, that's how you will, do the sprint.
Yes, yes, yes. And one more thing, like what is this independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable? Means
Invest.
product.
Yeah, I will talk to on that just after the slide. Yeah, that's basically it's an acronym, which is basically how you should write a user story.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
I'll talk on that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So going back to the slide, we'll start from the scratch again. So basically, in one of the session, I told you, right, there are three different ways we can capture the requirements. We learned two ways, right? If you are following a waterfall, you will basically be writing the system statements. Generally, that's one of the first way or first method, the way the requirements were done way back in 80s and early 90s. The system shall do this. The system shall allow the user to log in, right? The system shall statements. Then we also covered the use cases. Who can tell me what is a use case?
Specifications given by the clients or the customers.
Specifications given by the client or customers. That's a very broad definition.
Where a user interacts
It's
with the system.
Say use case. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody was saying something. Poonam, you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a group. Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it is a group of activities or a list of activities which will be catered towards a goal that can be either triggered by by an actor
Mm-hmm.
or an external system
Okay.
to achieve the objective.
Okay. Kind of close, but not exactly what I want to hear. So what about Salia? You want to take a shot?
So is use case it is described as a system behavior as to response to series like whatever the our customer or the actor asks us to do from the system.
Mm-hmm.
So however we want the system to behave.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much, what you should be saying when somebody asks you about a use case. A use case is nothing but a series of interaction that happens between an actor and the system. So that's pretty much what a use case is all about, right? So an actor will do something, the system will respond to it. For example, you will enter your ID and password and say, okay, I want to log in. The system will do something, right? You don't need to worry about how it's doing. You need to worry about what it is doing. So here it is authenticating whether you are the right user or not. Did you enter the right password or and ID or not? If it is right, then it will tell you, okay, it will give you access to your email account or bank account or whatever account it is. If it's incorrect, it will stop you right then and there. It will tell you, incorrect ID or password. We all have seen that so many times. So that interaction between an actor, in this case the customer who's trying to log in, and the system, that interaction you need to capture in the use case, and that happens in a series of events. It's not just one step. It may be 10 steps involved in it. And a use case will have a basic workflow. It will have an alternate workflow and an exception workflow. Correct? So you can see the difference between the system shell statements and the use case. So now we will take a look at the third way of doing the requirements, which is mainly used in any agile framework, which is called a user story. So a user story is nothing but it's a very short statements or a very brief way of writing the requirements. They are written from the user point of view. That's why they are called a user story. So it's a short and simple English statements written from the user's point of view, what exactly they are trying to achieve. So that's what it is. User story is a short and simple description of a feature told from the perspective of a user who is using the system. Okay. Now, initially, to give you some background, the user stories were initially written again in an agile environment, which is basically XP. It's known as XP, is extreme programming. It's a way of Agile. It's a flavor of Agile. So they started writing the user stories in XP, but now many of the Agile methodologies, they use user stories to write the requirements because they are very simple simple requirements, easy to write, anybody can write, and they are written in a very different way. It's not a huge documentation you write it in a very concise and precise manner, and it takes very less time to write the requirements as compared to FRDs or use cases. Now this is the most important piece here, the format in which you have to write a use case, a user story. So there are three different pieces in a user story, right? That's basically the structure of a story. So the first one is as a user, right? As a somebody, as a customer, as a manager, as a bank manager, as an inventory clerk, as a student, as a professor, whatever that role is, who is trying to use the system, that's the name you will write here. Because the first part of this user story is a user. That means who is using the system, that person's name will be put here. Right? So that is the first part you need to understand. Whosoever is using the system, that person's role name will be inserted here. The second piece is I want to do some action, right? I want to take some action on the system. Right? It can be goal, action, desire, function, people call it by different names, but think about that. You are trying to use the system, so that means you are doing some activity via the system. So that action will go in this second piece of the story. Right? And the last one is the business benefit or the value you are getting from that particular action. So why do you take the action on the system? Obviously, you are getting some value out of it, some benefit. That's what you will put in the third and last section of a story. The business benefit or the value the user is getting out of that story. So let's take an example here. So let's suppose I'm trying to log in. So you are a customer of a bank, or rather I'm a customer of a bank, and I'm trying to get into my bank account. Right? So what name should I put here?
Customer.
Customer or bank customer, right? Just to make it more clear. So as a bank customer or as a customer, I want to log in using my ID and password. If you can make it more elaborate, that's okay. So that what is the benefit you are getting out of it?
Access the account.
Access the account.
Exactly. So that I can get access to my account. So as a customer or as a bank customer, I want to log in using my credentials so that I can get access to my bank account. That's pretty much what you do as part of a story. There is one more piece to it. You need to write an acceptance criteria in order to say when is that story complete, or when can we say that this story is done. That's also we have to write. I'll show you what it is. But this is basically the basic building block of any story. Three pieces of it: as a user, second thing, I want to take an action on the system, and the third one is so that I can benefit out of it. I can get some business value or benefit out of it. Any questions on this very important concept? Are we good?
Yeah, Chetan.
Okay.
Yes.
So, just to give you some more information on this, initially when these kind of requirements or user stories were very new, right? People just started to write, and not many people knew about these. They were written on an index card. You know an index card?
Yes, Chetan.
So these are like a small,
I don't. Chetan, what is index? What is it again? Can you explain that?
see, index card is like, I forgot the exact dimension, but I think 3 by 5
3
inch
by
or something.
5.
Yeah, 3 by
Yeah.
5, right? Yeah. So these are like 3 by 5 inch index cards, physical cards, small pieces of paper, which basically uh, are used in generally, universities, and you want to create your cheat sheets and all that. That's what we used to use when I was doing an MBA. We were allowed to create some cheat sheets, right? Write some formulas on it and those kind of things, and bring it in the exam. And I think many of you guys might be using for the same reason, right? Salia, you have studied here, right? So you might have used
Yeah,
them a lot.
yeah. I use it at work and at when you're doing presentations,
Hmm.
you just want like some kind of cheat sheet, like pointers. It's like
Yeah.
small card you can hold in your hand, something small, but not like a paper, because paper is like
Hmm.
it can tear easy, but index card don't really tear that easy because they're little thick paper,
Yeah.
but the dimensions are small.
See, these are the index cards, right? So
Yeah.
these are small pieces of paper, as Salia said, and they are pretty sturdy. You can basically write on them, and you can store them, and they are in the standard size, 3 by 5 inch. So
Mm.
generally, in the initial days, people used to write these stories on an index card with a marker,
Okay.
especially with a marker, so that they cannot fill in a lot of things in it. They wanted to keep it at a very high level, so they started writing these stories using these cards, and also using the markers, thick markers. So on the front side of this index card, they would write basically, the as a customer, I want to do this so that the benefit. So I'll show you here. Uh, right. So I'm just picking some examples. I don't even know what this is. So you can see this. As a project manager, I want to know if a story is, what is that, is running over, so that I can see if there is anything I can do to help. It's not a best example, but that's how people used to write. I just want to give you an idea, how things were before. And on the back side of it, people used to write the acceptance criteria. That means, how can anybody tell that this story is complete? On the back side, we would write that. So front side would contain these things, and on the back side, if you flip the story on the back side of it, I mean the card, you will see the acceptance criteria, which will tell the developer that when can they say that this story is successfully done or coded. So in this example, the same login example, in the backside you will write an acceptance criteria, which would be similar to, verify that once the ID and password is entered, and the customer submits the request, the system authenticates successfully and gives access to the account. Or the second scenario will be verify that if the ID and password is incorrect, the system will display the following message. Please enter your correct ID and password, something of that sort. So you need to tell the audience what are the different ways your story can end, and so that they can basically develop it based on that. And we'll give some more examples, so don't worry if you are not clear. But at least, even if you are not clear with the acceptance criteria, are you clear with this part? Because acceptance criteria we'll be talking in the next slides. So the focus right now is to make sure that you understand the format in which you need to write a story, and that's exactly the same format you will use. Clear? Any questions?
No, Chetan.
Okay. So the next piece is what we call the 3 C's: card, conversation, and confirmation. So this guy, Ron Jeffries, he's basically one of the very highly respected um, person in the especially in the agile environment, and he came up with this term which is called 3 C's: card, conversation, and confirmation. So what it means is the basic philosophy of writing a story should be based on these 3 elements. That it should be based on a like a card, right? Just put enough that you can fit it on the card, nothing more, nothing less. So let's do it here, right? As I said, 3 by 5 inch index card. In the good old days, we used to write on a physical card, but these days, people use good tools because we have good, very, set of sophisticated tools which people use to write the stories. So I don't see anybody writing it on a physical index cards, but there might be people who are writing it. These days, most of us use some tools. We use Jira in our project. There's another tool called Rally, which is also a very popular tool, and there are a bunch of tools. If you just research, you might find like 50 plus tools which are based on the Agile environment. So the first C is card. That means it has to be written on a card. If you are using a tool, the idea is that you just put enough that can be entered on a card. You should not write long sentences which will span 3-4 cards. So one story, one card, right? Neither it should be too less. So it should be just enough which can be entered in that index card.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my boys were here, so I had to mute myself.
Okay.
You cannot hear them once both of them are here. They are like crazy. Okay. And the second thing was, you know, um, generally in the old days, they used to write using a thick marker. Again, the idea was to use bold alphabets, and in a bold way you write those things so that you don't add details to the story. The second C is conversation. The most important piece, and many people don't get this, even in the projects people work, they don't understand this, that user story in itself is not an end in itself. It is not the final requirements. It is just that you are writing it so that you can discuss it with the product owner, and you can do whatever analysis you want to do. Like you can use your business process model, you can use your use case diagrams, activity diagrams, or state chart, or context diagrams, whatever you want to use to further analyze that particular story. I've also seen people writing short use cases based on that story. So anything which makes the requirements clear, you should do that. And that's the beauty of Agile. It doesn't tell you to just focus on FRDs or just focus on use case. It tells you, okay, from this point onwards, once you have the story ready, right? Once you write a story, you talk it out with your product owner, and in whatever way you want to document them, you can document. Even if you don't document, it's okay. If you have a documentation practice, you start documenting. So that's why user story is not an end product. It is a means to begin conversation between the product owner and the team. Think about that. It is just a reminder that there is a requirement which needs to be satisfied, and that has to be discussed further.
Chetan, I found a nice example for this user story on an index card.
Okay.
You want me to email it to you so you can display it on your end?
Well, you can share it. I will give you the control. Yeah, you should be able to share it now.
You guys seeing it?
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. As a student, I want to purchase a parking pass so that I can drive to school. And then on the back side, you have the acceptance criteria. So when can you say that this story is done? That's what you need to write. Yep. And we'll do some examples so that way you get some hands-on experience on that. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. So I think okay. And the last piece is the confirmation. That's exactly what I was talking about. You need to write an acceptance criteria, which will basically tell the team that when this story is complete, when can we say it is complete? Right. So these three C's form a good story, or basically these are the building blocks of writing a good user story: card, conversation, and confirmation. Right. So I think we had the same example right now. So as a customer, that's your role, or a user. I want to authenticate my credentials. Right. You can write, I want to enter my login ID and password. That's fine, as long as you are saying that what action you are taking on the system, or what function you are invoking, so that I can get access to my account. That's the value you are getting out of that action, right? Some sort of benefit you are getting. That's what you will write in the front side of the card. Now, again, if you are using a tool, there is no front and back side, but still these are valid. You need to write this, and then you have to write an acceptance criteria to tell when can we say that this story is complete. So something on the same lines with what we we took the same example before, right, in a use case. So I'm just using the same one so that you can relate it back to it. So your acceptance criteria will look like something like this, right? So once customer enters ID and password, ensure that she is granted full access to the account. Right? So if you enter your ID and password correctly, there is no other way, that you should be stopped from getting access to your account. There is no other reason, right? So you should be able to get to your account. The second scenario is, if I entered my ID or password incorrect, the system should display an account, display a message. So when somebody is coding it, they know that, what are the different ways the system will behave. Once you enter an ID and password, and if it is correct, there is no error message. We give them access to the account. If it's incorrect, either of these, then the developer knows that, okay, we need to show this message on the screen. Your incorrect ID or password, please re-enter your ID and password. This is your whatever attempt before your account will be locked temporarily. Right? And then we have to again say that what happens when they do the same thing again and again 4 consecutive times. So if they attempt, or if they try to log in using their incorrect ID or password for 4 consecutive times, then as per the requirements, we need to lock their account. So we are saying that verify that the customer is allowed to enter maximum of 4 unsuccessful attempts, after which the account will be locked. And then the last one is, we have to tell them that, they cannot access it from any of the devices, either from the desktop or mobile or any tablet. It has to be locked from all these different channels. So this will be used by the team, especially by the developers and the testers, to write the code and test the code. Right? So that's your front side and that's the back side.
So on this acceptance criteria, we don't go to the extent of telling what is the alternative solution that he can do if his account gets locked up, right?
You can put that, if that's the case, but you don't put it in like a sequence of actions like how we did in a use case.
I remember you had this also, if I remember right, you had a 1-800 number that could be used for calling.
Yeah.
Something like that. So we don't go to that extent. This is just the what happens if the ID and password are entered incorrectly.
No, you can do that. You can, of course, you can say that, let's suppose I can say here, display the following message once the because of the shortage of space, maybe that's why I didn't do it. But here you can
Okay,
put that.
I thought wanted to keep it as brief as possible, so that's why I thought you excluded that.
No, that's the right thing. You don't want to keep writing a lot of details here, but here in the example you took, right, that we need to display a message, that is a valid point you made. We can add it here because it is adding a value to the story, so that the developer, when they are writing the code, they know that once the account is locked, we need to do something. We need to show the message on the screen. So your account right, something on these lines, I can do it. I'll fix it later, but yeah, you can add it. And the main thing is the communication that happens between the the product owner and the BA. So not, as you said, that is also right. You don't capture all the fine details in a story. Some things have to be talked or discussed. Unlike the use case where everything has to be captured in that document, or a FRD where every statement or the system shall statements have to be entered in the FRD. Here things are different. Here we say that okay, let's talk it out. We don't depend on just documentation, because in Agile documentation is done in a very conservative way. You just keep a lightweight documentation. You don't keep writing documents. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is an epic? Anybody heard about this term epic?
Yeah, I heard it when I was listening to the sprint video.
Hmm. So
Means
what?
epic means they are change means there is a big requirement. They are diversifying the requirement into two categories. That's what it is.
Oh, sorry, Dipti.
Yeah, Chetan, I was calling regarding this. I was unmuted. I was muted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes, Darshan. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
you're right, Darshan. Sorry. Yeah. No, Dipti, you had something?
Yes, Chetan. Like you said that documentation would be minimum in Agile.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, even do we have anything else to do with the project chatter, BRDs, like, or it's the same for any environment?
No, in Agile, you don't write a BRDs and FRDs. You basically stick to writing the stories. That's pretty much what you do.
User story is a substitute for FRD, but
Mhm.
uh, is it also a substitute for BRD, Chetan?
Yeah,
Like
there
I
is.
read somewhere that like user stories in agile environment
Mhm.
is a substitute for FRD.
See, BRD and
So
FRD, right? Okay, these are terms which basically people use it in a very different way. BRD, what is BRD,
business requirements
right?
document.
That means technically, in theory, it should not have any reference to the system.
Yes.
That's pretty much BRD means, right? FRD is functional requirements
Functional
document.
requirement document.
That means whatever requirements you have captured in the BRD is now translated into the system level requirements which are
System
captured in FRD.
FRD.
FRD is also known by a different name which is called SRS, System Requirement Specification. It's the same name, I mean same
Yes.
stuff, but they are called by different names. So when you are talking about Agile, the whole idea is to cut the documentation to the least minimum extent, to the least possible extent. You don't want to write the BRDs because you are
Okay.
defeating the idea of the entire Agile environment by creating an upfront big document of BRD.
Yes.
The basic philosophy of Agile is to sit down with the product owner and start hashing out the stories, put them in the backlog, prioritize them, estimate them, and start working on them. As and when you start getting more information, you will add some more stories in the backlog.
So what all documentation is needed when we are working in this Scrum environment?
See, there is basically what you do is from the BA point of view, your basic requirements or basic documentation will be your epics and stories. That's basically pretty much what you do. In addition to that, as I said, whatever it takes to communicate the requirements to the team. If your team says, okay, no, we want to see it in a use case way, you have to write a use case. if they say no, we don't want to see a use case, we are good with you can draw some business process models and show it to us. You can do that as well, or it can be an activity diagrams too. Instead of writing a use case, you can show it in a form of activity diagram, and that can also be enough for a team to understand what needs to be done. So there is no specific right or wrong answer there. Unlike in a use case, you have to use a template, and the template must contain all the different sections, right? We went through all the sections in a template. Do you recollect that, you guys?
Yes.
So
Yes.
unlike
I'm,
unlike
okay, go.
that,
I
yeah, unlike that, in Agile, you don't have any prescribed way of doing things. That's where people get confused. How do I do my requirements? But that's exactly what Agile is telling you, that we don't put any uh, you know uh, we don't force any sort of template or any documentation on the team. User stories should be the basis of doing any requirements. Now, how you further elaborate your requirements, it's up to you. So in many teams, I've seen like they don't do any documentation. Based on the stories and the communication they have between the team members, they build the system. In some environments, or in the project I'm working right now, we do lightweight process modeling to show how things will work. But apart from that, we don't write FRDs, or we don't do BRDs, or we don't do use cases.
Chetan, my question is, like, in one of the interviews when I was being interviewed,
Mhm.
the interviewer said that they were following use case they were following use cases for writing their requirements, and what she said in that interview was the business analysts, they don't interact with the clients.
Mhm.
It is just the set of use cases which are already there, and
Mhm.
from there they have to like bring down all the documentation and everything.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand at that point of time, like, what documentation, what else more do we need in this kind of environment when the user stories are already in place.
Use cases, you mean?
And yeah, the use cases are already in place. So,
Okay.
I didn't get what
See.
exactly she was asking,
Okay.
so that's the reason I'm.
Okay. No, in that case, see, in real world, people don't follow the right way, right? They will mix and match and things, and they will do as per their own convenience. So in that case, what I'm thinking is what they wanted was, based on the use cases, you need to write the stories, the user stories from the use cases. I've seen that a lot of times. That they will give you some documentation because maybe they don't have time to talk to the team. They will write some use cases and give it to the team. So from that point onwards, you need to write or you need to extract the user stories from the use cases.
Okay.
And that's not the best way to do it, but yeah, I've seen that happening.
Okay. But will the use case specifications will that not serve the purpose of
Yeah, exactly.
like
Use cases in itself.
I mean can't
Mhm.
yes can't the technical developers or I mean the technical people
Yeah,
can't they develop based on use cases,
exactly. They can, but
like is there a necessary for user stories?
then it is not. That's what, you don't need to again duplicate things and again write the user stories from the use case. It doesn't make any sense, because the whole purpose of writing the use case is to document the interaction between the actor and the system so that the team can
Yeah.
write that code based on that.
Okay.
But maybe they are not following the best practice. So instead of that, you should have asked them, what is the purpose of writing the stories when you already have a use case? Because
Yes,
ideally, you should not
I
do that.
mean yeah, I couldn't make out what documents she was talking about, and
Hmm.
like what else I couldn't think at that point of time. What else documents do we need when we have
Yeah,
use cases?
but you are thinking on the right lines. Yeah. Okay, so okay, epic. So I think Darshan, you answered this, right? An epic. Anyone else?
Yes, but I don't know whether it is correct or not.
Okay.
Lengthy user story.
Yeah, that's correct. So epic is nothing but a large, huge user story. Now, what is a large basically? It's a relative term, right? Large for some people can be, it can be easy. Some for some it can be small. So it's a relative term here, right? Large, correct?
Um, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So the go.
Sorry, Poonam?
No, I guess Darshan was speaking, so I just.
No, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. No, you asked what is large? What do we mean here by large? So
Yeah.
basically, what our second thing is after uh, the way it is written. This we can say that the action that is performed encompasses a lot of things. So, like manage online, the one that the thing that we are seeing on the screen, manage online current account has so many things that are happening.
Yes,
So it automatically becomes a large user story because the
that's
actions performed are too many.
exactly. So whenever you come across a user story which is large enough, that means it's an epic.
Yeah.
So
Yes, that's true.
an epic is nothing but a huge user story which can be broken down into small user stories, right? Generally, there is a gray area here in the agile environment. Some people say that a large means any story which cannot be done in that particular iteration. That's a large story. Some people say that any story which cannot be completed by one single developer in 3 days, 2 to 3 days, is an epic. Frankly speaking, there is no right or wrong answer. It all boils down to um, your own judgment call and many other factors like how good is your team? Can they do it in like one story? If let's suppose you have all team members very new in the project. So for the same story which can be done in 3 days will take 6 days for a new person. So here basically there is a lot of confusion not only amongst newbies but also amongst experts. I've seen a lot of articles and a lot of papers which basically dispute what is the definition of large or epic, but don't go get into that because the experts themselves are not clear right now.
So Chetan, I was actually reading something on it, and the way they explained was that you take the smallest user story
Hmm.
and you make that your relative point,
Yes,
and
story
then you
points.
compare it to that.
Yeah.
So whatever your smallest user story is,
Hmm.
your large and your epic would be compared to that.
Right. And that we'll talk about that, how to do an estimation. We'll talk most likely tomorrow. But yeah, that's one way you can say, which one is large and which one is small. But again, even in that, people have a dispute. I'll give an example. Let's suppose um, I tell you to, like we pick two people, right? And we say that okay, you need to cover or you need to run 2 miles. Okay, so we have a fixed um, length or a fixed what do you call the distance, right? So 2 miles, both have to run, and we give them, okay, whatever time it takes for you, but you need to run 2 miles. So let's assume both these people, I mean, both these guys, they start at the same time running. One is athlete and one is not. So the same distance for the athlete, it is nothing to run a 2 mile thing, right? For him or her, it may be a piece of cake to run 2 miles. But the same 2 miles will be a lot of struggle for the person who is not that fit. So you see, like what I'm trying to say is it's a relative term here. The same distance which can be covered by this athlete in like, maybe 15 minutes might take like 1 hour by this guy. So if I give a story to one person, that will basically change the dynamics if I'm giving it to a person who is very experienced or very, smart and skilled. And we'll talk about those things tomorrow because, I want you to think from this, like when you're fresh. But estimation is one topic where, people get into all those kind of issues because it's all relative. There is no fixed definition there. So going back to the epic, are we clear with what an epic is? It's nothing but a large story. A large is nothing but when again, it's a judgment call. If you think, you can break it down further, that's how I do it in my project. If I think that I can break it down into small pieces, that's a epic. Now, I don't want to break it down into like, a field level. That means I should be able to enter my ID can be one story, password can be one story. That's too granular. You don't want to break it down to that level. So let me take an example here, which is pretty much people can relate it to. So let's take this one. Okay. So let's suppose you want to book your flight, right? You're planning to travel and you want to book a flight. So here, as per this, you need to make a selection. So book my flight tickets is an epic, correct? Do you agree with that? Because, right, I can
Yes,
think
that's
a
true.
lot of things will be involved in it,
Yes.
right? So by default, I can make it an epic. So first thing is I need to select your local website. Maybe that can be one story, picking your region so that, you can get the customized options. You can see everything in dollars. If you are in US, if you are in some other country in Middle East, you will see in that currency. If you are in India, you will see, or Pakistan, you will see the local currency. So those kind of things, it will help the customer to, get a local or a personal experience. So I'll say I'm in US. So do you think this can qualify for one story? Selecting my
Yes.
website. So
Yes.
the scope of that story will only be limited to selecting my region. It won't be doing anything else. Okay. So now let's take a look at it. How can we further, you know, write stories? The goal is to book a flight tickets, which is an epic. So we already did one, which is selecting the region or the country. Now let's take a second step. What will you do next? If you are planning to buy a ticket,
We'll
First
put
destinations.
from and to this
yeah, you will,
destination point and all.
right? You will put from, you will put to, you will select the dates, departing and returning dates, and enter all these things, and then search. So what is the goal here?
To get the result means to see the flights.
Right, to see the flights. So searching can be another story where I'm saying that the scope of that story will only be limited to entering the data here and clicking the search. I'm not concerned about seeing the results right now. I'm just saying that, okay, let me enter these from and to values, the dates, departing and returning, the, the child and all those things, so that I can search for my flights. That can be a second story. So let me put this. I'll just put something here and say, okay, just put some random dates and I will say search. So the third story can be display the results, can be a third story. Now, once you did the search, you entered your, criteria, and now you click the button, okay, search. So now you are seeing, okay, these are the options, or these are the different flights I have. So now the third story can be display the flights. Man, that's 385 you're getting. Wow. Man, I booked for 1600. Okay, so that's pretty much how you can keep breaking it down into further stories.
Showing $353?
Yeah, 385.
Washington to Mumbai?
No. Total is 863. While
Okay.
going, it's 385. While it's coming, it's 478. Not bad.
Oh yeah, that's very cheap.
Yeah, but the dates are pretty much, like January onwards.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then it's fine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. In this month, you won't get it. Forget it.
I did this simultaneously and it's showing me like 1,700 or something.
Yeah. That's because you are planning in this month, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. I'm not planning, but just checking.
Okay. So the idea is to, I was trying to show you how you can break it down into small stories. If it's a big story, you need to break it down into small components. That's pretty much what you do with your Epic. So here I'm saying manage online current account. So you can authenticate customer, you can check the balance, transfer funds, make the payments. You can do the sorting, right? You want to sort your transactions based on the dates or based on different types of transactions. All those things you can do it. You can view your monthly statements. You can set alerts. So each one will be its own story, so that each one can be, um, you know, developed and added to the system independently. They don't have to depend on each other. So maybe in the first iteration, I can just authenticate. It won't have anything else, but I can just enter my ID and password because there is nothing else. I didn't develop all these, so I cannot do anything. So as we go further in the sprint or iterations, you will keep adding the new features as and when you complete the stories. Are you guys clear?
Yes, Chetan.
Okay, so this is what you were saying, right? Invest.
Yes, Chetan.
So this is basically an acronym, which is what it calls, it's an invest is nothing but independent, negotiable. It should be valuable to the customers. You should be able to estimate it. It should be small, and you should be able to test it. That's what it is. And that's how the invest acronym was formed. So the first one is independent. That's exactly what I told you here, right? each one is independent of each other. So it doesn't mean that in the first or second iteration you have your system complete, but whatever you have implemented should be able to work exactly as it would work in real environment. Okay, so that's what makes it independent. So don't create dependencies between stories, because if there is a dependency, you cannot basically plan your iteration like that. It should be written in such a way that the customer or the product owner should be able to prioritize them, and we should be able to plan it. Right? So that's why they have to be kept independent of each other. Negotiable is something which means that as a customer or a product owner, when the product owner says that I want, let's suppose they say that I want these 6 stories to be done in iteration 1, but maybe your team capacity is not that much. When they are doing the planning meeting, right, make sure you understand these things. The estimation, how much time it will take to do the story, will be done in sprint planning meeting. Right. In the sprint planning meeting, the team will basically take a look at the story and they will say, okay, this is what the estimate is. And that is done in a story points. We'll talk tomorrow. But there is some sort of estimation done to understand the complexity of the work. So if your product owner is saying that, okay, I want 6 stories to be done in iteration 1, and if your team thinks that it's too much work for them, it has to be negotiated. You can say that, out of 6, we can do 3 or 4. The remaining 2 can be done in iteration 2 or sprint 2. So you can negotiate with your product owner and come to a common ground, basically. Okay. The third one is a valuable. Your story should be valuable to your product owner, and it should not be written from a developer's point of view, because the ultimate goal of writing a user story is to support your product owner in meeting the needs and requirements what they are expecting from the system. So a user story must add value to your product owner, or it can be from the, of course, they are from the business. So you never should write a story which looks like this. As a developer, I want to validate database servers so that I can ensure that all connections to the database are active. If you give this story to your customer or your product owner, for him or her, this doesn't make any sense to them, right? Do you think it will make sense to them who don't understand, anything like database and servers and connections and web services? If you give this story to your product owner,
No way.
they won't understand this. As a developer, I want to update the database table this when a new record is inserted so that the data can be retrieved. I mean, for the product owner, they really don't care what's in the database. All they care is my system showing the name of that person or the name of that book or whatever it is. So never write a story from a developer's point of view. Always write a story from a user point of view. That's exactly why it's called a user story. Now this will take a look tomorrow, estimation, but everybody has to tell how much work is involved in implementing that story. And here the good thing is it's a lot of guesswork involved. So there is no, real math or hard code like formula which will basically give you the answer. It's all about your gut feelings. Think about that. That's why, it's a rough estimate. It's not a hard number, which basically you can be, uh, you know, accounted for, or, you can take a responsibility for. So let's suppose you say, I'm thinking it will take me 10 story points or 8 story points. But in reality, if it takes, more than that or less than that, you're not going to be, pinged on, because it's all estimates, guesswork. There are different techniques you can do to estimate a story. The most important piece is like, story points, which we'll talk tomorrow. But many people use different ways of doing it. Some they use planning poker. I think most of you might have played or at least know that game, poker. So they use the poker cards to do the estimation. Some teams also do based on the t-shirt size. So they will pick one story and say that, okay, tell me the estimate or tell me the complexity of this user story. So is it XXL? That means too much work. Is it XL? That means it's a lot of work. Large means, work which is basically which can span 1 week, right? And they will have some definitions around those. What XXL, XL, large, medium, small means, so that they can estimate that, right? So for XXL, they may say that, okay, anything which will take us 3 weeks will be XXL. XL will be 2 weeks. Large will be 1 week. Medium will be 3 days. Small will be maybe 2 days or 1 day. So based on that, they will do an estimation. The whole idea of estimating the story is to make sure that you only commit that much work which you can handle in the sprint. You don't want to overcommit or you don't want to undercommit.
It's showing in the video t-shirts and how they are doing estimate with the use of t-shirt method.
Okay.
Because yeah, couple in that developer and everybody is in a spring meeting, right?
Planning meeting.
Yeah, in the planning meeting, right?
Yeah.
And then like if they are, it was all about the grade, how to build the system, and like if it is a update the grade, then one person is showing me small, one person is showing small, one is showing medium, and another one is also showing small, and they are deciding that why you choose the small size, another person why you choose the medium size, and they are doing the estimation that way.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's exactly, like let's suppose there are two developers or two people on the team. One is maybe just joined 1 week back,
Yes.
correct? And the other one joined like, or other one is like 6 years. This guy is in the same project for 6 years. So there you basically, you want to compare apple to apple, right? If you tell them, okay, how much effort it will take, how much time it will take, the experienced guy may say, okay, I can do it in 16 hours, whereas the new guy will say, I can do it in 40 hours, correct? But that should not be the
Yes.
basis of estimating. The basis of estimation should be how much really that work is, how much work or how much complex that particular story is. So that's why you want to take out the hours from the calculation and say, okay, give me the size or complexity of it. So there will be some definitions around what XXL mean, what XL is, large, medium, small is. And based on that, the team will basically vote. We will stick to story points because that is, easy to understand.
Is estimation done in the backlog refinement meeting, right?
No, estimation is
No?
done. No, estimation is done in your sprint planning meeting.
Sprint planning meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Why did we jump to the backlog refinement? Okay, no problem.
Okay. The next thing is it should be small. That's exactly what we said. That a user story should not be too large or it should not be too small. So you cannot create a user story to say that I want to book tickets. That's one story because as we just now saw that it has got a lot of things in it. Correct. Second thing is it should not be too small that you cannot say that adding one field is one story, right? Adding from and to destination cannot be one story. It is too finite. So you need to pick your sweet spot and say this is what the small is. The reason is you have a too large, if it's a big story, it is difficult to estimate. People cannot estimate. If I tell you to estimate, um, you know, the entire system, that's difficult. But if I tell you to estimate, okay, how much time it will take to write this or to create one form on the screen, it's much easy, correct? If I tell you that, okay, estimate how much time it will take to build this website as compared to, I say that, okay, can you tell me how much time it will take to build this form which has got 8 fields in it? So that is the second option is much clear because I know the scope of the work. I can plan it, I can estimate it. If it's too small, you are basically adding more cost to it than you are getting the benefit out of it. You see what I'm saying? If I say that each story, I will say this is my story, right? Where we are just allowing them to enter from and to. Then we will have another story where they will select the dates. Third story where they will pick the number of people traveling. So you are not creating any value to the use to your product owner by just delivering one story like this. What will I do just by entering the date and I mean the departure and the this city from and to cities? It's not giving me any value, right? Just by selecting the dates from and to dates, I don't really know where it's fitting. I mean where does it fit in this entire scheme of things? So you need to make a judgment call and say which one or which level you need to pick. It should not be too large, it cannot be too small. And last thing is it should be testable. That means you need to have a good acceptance criteria which will capture the same thing, basic workflow, alternate workflow, exception workflows, but now you are capturing it in a form of a user story. If you don't have the acceptance criteria, your user story is incomplete. So make sure you add not only the basic components as a customer, I want to take an action, the benefit out of it, but also your acceptance criteria. That's very important. Any questions? Hello?
No question, Chetan.
The sprint planning is all about how many user points we can do in that particular sprint, right, Chetan?
Yeah, that is a topic we need to discuss in detail. Velocity, that is called the velocity of the team. Have you heard of this term?
Yes.
So velocity is the capacity of your team to handle the number of story points you can do. And yeah, we'll talk tomorrow on that, because tomorrow I need to cover the sprint planning and the burn down and burn up charts.
Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing, Chetan, can we have a discussion about domain-specific business analysis, like how would a functional, finance BA from finance domain be working on, like, or a healthcare BA? So
Yeah.
just in case, can we have a discussion?
Okay. Yep. We can do that. Yeah, we
That's
can
it,
do that.
Chetan. I
Mhm.
have no notes. Okay. And apart from the Q&A, do we need to stress anything else for the interviews?
No, the document is basically, it's a living document. That means I'm updating it with more questions as and when I, get some more inputs. But that should be enough. That's a very exhaustive document. It covers almost all
Yeah.
facets of your interview.
Okay.
So if you go, I've not seen anybody doing that, but if you go through each of those questions, there is basically, there is most likely you have all the questions under earth which can be in your interview.
Yeah. I mean, there are also leading questions, like where we obviously go and Google them.
Hmm. Okay, so this is basically your, user stories, and okay, before anybody, I stop here. Any questions you guys have? Tomorrow we'll take a look at the Jira.
I'm good.
So what I want you guys to do is tomorrow evening, before we meet, make sure you create an account in Jira, and uh, so that you can follow along with me. It's a very, I will send it's a small user guide I've created. You can just follow the steps and create your account in Jira, right? Because we'll use this tool to
Okay.
create stories and do a lot of things here.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? No questions? Okay, so before we close tonight's session, just final check. If you guys are okay, we can close. Otherwise, if you have any questions, let me know.
Chetan,
Yeah.
uh, uh, when we get the feedback on the resume means
Oh,
this
yeah.
week or
Yeah. Sorry, man. I will do it tomorrow. I will give you the feedback for sure.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, but before that, I am sending you the another version. Just
Okay.
check it that and
Okay.
delete the last one.
So I don't review the previous one? I should
No,
be
no, I will send you tomorrow morning or right now.
okay. Okay,
And
good.
yeah, and second thing is I just want to ask you is that like my uh, domain is going into the telecommunication according to my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Means because I worked for the Ericsson
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay.
I am showing that one and the AT&T as well. Means it will affect my job scenario.
Basically, we have to put some projects from telecom then, because
I put, yes, I put the telecom projects over there.
okay.
But like if I want to go to this means anyone can give it my resume to the banking industries, then I'm qualifying for that or not?
No, no, I didn't get your question. So you're saying
Means
okay, okay, go ahead.
my resume is more focusing on telecommunication
Okay,
functions, right?
that's
Means
true.
it's showing me that I'm working in the I have a very good experience as a
Mm-hmm.
BA in telecommunication industries.
Mm-hmm.
But when you send my resume, means Aspatek is going to send my resume to the different industries.
Okay.
There will be a telecommunications or banking industries or financial industries.
Mm-hmm.
I am qualifying for that as well,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. So it's not that if you don't, I mean, we are not showing all the projects in telecom, right? There might be one or two.
yeah, two only true project, yeah.
Yeah, the remaining ones might be in finance and other domains.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
finance domain. I
yeah.
understood.
So that's okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that you will not get any jobs in non-telecom domains. Just
Okay.
that, see, people who are interested in, let's suppose, telecom,
Mhm.
definitely will reach out to you. Let's suppose I'm
Okay.
into finance, but your last two projects were in telecom, but
Telecom, yes.
yeah, that doesn't mean that I may not reach out to
Call me.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you will still be,
Okay.
you know,
Yes, yes, that's true. And
very.
what about the like if I have constraint like I want to do means I want to stay in Texas, then
Mhm.
there will be a I'm getting job late. That's the that will happen or means
It may, yeah, if you have a constraint like, you're looking for a specific region in a specific domain,
yes.
then of course,
Mm-hmm.
it may take a while as compared to
Okay.
somebody who is
Okay.
willing to just relocate anywhere. For them, it's
Okay.
much easy.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but if
yeah.
you're
I miss.
willing to wait a bit, that's okay. You can pick your own place because many people are living in certain area, they don't want to move, and that's totally, understandable.
Yes, yes.
But
Because this is going to be my first project. Then I'm just removing the constraint. That's why. For
Mhm.
that. Just thinking that if I'm targeting the Texas, means it will take a longer time. Means 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months.
Yeah, see, I would advise if you are, you know, really short of time and you want the job as soon as possible, just take the
Yes, yes,
first,
yes.
whatever first comes in, just take that and
Okay,
then look for opening in your area. It's much easy to
okay.
get. Once you are in the market,
Yes,
it's
that's
very
true.
easy.
Yeah, yeah. Means once we are in the market, if I get the job, I got placed. Then meanwhile, I'm also getting the call from another vendor as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes. And one more last thing before we are going to end. Miss, means as I read something in the Harvard Business Review that the data analysis is also means BA people are also working as a data analysis. That's true.
Yeah, but see, recently data analyst job needs like more specific skills because the
Yes,
big data and all that coming in,
yes, yes,
it
yes.
needs a lot of statistical tools and
Yeah, yeah,
much more different set of expertise you need. There you
yeah.
don't do BPM and use cases and all that.
Yes, yes, yes.
There,
Because I just seen online there will be a three tool like Tabula, ClickView.
hmm
Uh, they are very popular for the data analysis.
hmm Yeah, data
Yeah.
analyst job is more like modeling statistics and
Yes,
all
yes.
those kind of things.
Chi-square test and lots of statistical model and forecasting.
Yeah, right.
Okay, okay,
So
okay. Yeah, because that's the right now is booming, right? Big data and data
big data,
analysis.
yes, big data is picking up.
Yeah, yeah. because I read in the Harvard Business Review magazine that now the company is directly implementing the big data department in their companies.
Mm-hmm.
Means there will be a project management team, there will be HR team. Now they have a data analysis team. It will directly report to the president or CEO of the company.
Okay, okay.
Means yeah. Means that's why it's like it's booming and there will be a good opportunity as well.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Any other questions? So if not, we'll meet again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll send you a couple of things. One thing is I'll send you a small user guide on Jira so that you can create your account. Don't do it in the morning, do it in the evening so that you get, like, I think they are very conservative. Like they give you 6 days of free access to Jira. But the good thing is you can create another account using a new email ID. So there's a workaround. So you can keep getting new accounts using your new email IDs. So you don't have to literally pay for it. But the only thing is every 6 days it will expire and then you have to again create a new email account. So you can keep playing with the tool. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then I think thanks everyone and I'll see you again tomorrow.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Then
Good night.
are we touching base tonight or
Yeah.
later?
Yeah, I will call you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.